All right, fam. So we got a lot to talk about today. There is a new Wendy Williams documentary coming out. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how many of these docs that we actually need. Especially in light of what she's actually going through. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think that there is something that the people in the Wendy Williams sphere of influence are missing, whether that is, her camp. I think it's more Debmar Mercury, but really what we keep asking for are those classic Wendy Williams moments that we can go and relive by watching clips on YouTube. That's really what, in my mind, I would like. Because at this point in time, my concern for Wendy Williams in her present incarnation, like where she is now, is mostly her health and well being. Okay. So when it comes to this documentary, let's talk about it. It's called, this is the working title, Clap If You Care. This is being taken from Variety. And this is coming from the host's longtime TV producer, and it's being picked up at Peacock. So let's dive in. So the article states that Peacock will be digging into the well-mined world of former radio host and TV talk show star Wendy Williams, greenlighting the three-part documentary Clap If You Care, The Wendy Williams Show. Now, just so you guys know, that's the working title. In the world of television, oftentimes shows are giving a working title before a finalized title is actually the title that they go with, right? And a lot of times they'll put that title out there because they want to see what the buzz is going to be about it. And if that buzz works, then the title will stick. If people are outraged by the title, then it's kind of like it won't work. Now, in terms of the title itself, I'm not a fan of it. I understand it's something from Wendy herself, but the way that it's used here, it's like clap if you care, and I don't know that a lot of people are going to really care about a documentary that Wendy Williams may not be actually a part of or may actually benefit from. So we're going to discuss that shortly. So stick around for that. All right. So Wendy is not involved in this new docuseries, but her former producer is spearheading the project. Now, who might that be? That is the long-running Wendy Williams show executive producer Suzanne Bass, who ran the syndicated strip for 13 seasons, will also executive produce the documentary. Now, she's not the only producer listed here, but they say here from the press release that her experience brings invaluable insight, a firsthand account of the show's unique place in pop culture. Clap If You Care is also executive produced by a bunch of other people. Okay. We don't know those people, so we're just gonna leave it at that. Now, here is the rub. This is what's going on with the docuseries and why you should or should not watch it based on what the press release is saying. While past documentaries on Williams have focused on her health crises and guardianship, Clap If You Care appears to be more focused on the star's career prior to the end of her show. The doc, according to Peacock, celebrates the outrageous fun, cultural impact, and meteoric rise of the Wendy Williams show. I want you guys to hear the log line because this is important. A log line is essentially the sentence that is used kind of like an elevator pitch that will attract networks, production companies, streaming services to your project. So think about it like this. If you were writing a book or if you were pitching a movie or a television show, you always want to have a log line that's going to basically give people the idea of what this is about in like one sentence. So here's the log line here. Skyrocketing from unlikely beginnings as a radio host to her impact on entertainment culture, Williams redefined the daytime talk genre with her outrageous on-screen fun on the long-running daytime Emmy-nominated talk show. That's a long one, okay? While praising Wendy's TV reign, the documentary also sheds light on the complicated truths about the cost of fame and answers long-lingering questions surrounding the infamous exit from her own show. Over 20 former staffers from the talk show will share their behind-the-scenes experiences and memories of the pop culture icon. Now, okay, so let's break that down. So I don't know who actually pitched this, to be honest with you. Now, it could have been that maybe Suzanne pitched it. I don't know. If Suzanne pitched it, it gives me pause, right? But if she didn't pitch it, I'm going to tell you what I think actually happened. Whomever pitched it probably said, we need someone who can legitimize this documentary. Who could that be? And who would be that person? None other than Suzanne. That would make the most sense. Now, they could have asked quite a number of people. I will be interested to see if Norman is actually a part of this as well, because it does say over 20 former staffers from the talk show will share their behind the scenes experiences and memories of the pop culture icon. Now, I would also wager that these staffers are probably being paid. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of those staffers moved from Wendy Williams to Sherry Shepherd. I don't know how many of those staffers, when that show ended, left without a job or had to find other work. But a lot of times this work can be gig work, which is not always sustainable. But when you find a good gig, it really works out for the long run, especially if you can work on a show for 13 seasons. Okay, so there's a part of me that can understand why they would do that if they are in need of the income, which I don't know their financial situation, so I cannot say or ascertain. But I think the problem for me lies in what we find out on the Neighborhood Talk. Okay. So shout out to the Neighborhood Talk. Shout out to House of Aaron, who did the reporting on this as well. They say Wendy Williams reportedly blindsided by the new Peacock documentary about her. The project will be spearheaded by, of course, former friend and executive producer Suzanne Bass. Now, here is what Lauren LaRosa from The Breakfast Club says about this. A source close to Wendy Williams tells me exclusively that Wendy was blindsided by this new documentary, Clap If You Care. The doc, coming in 2027, was officially announced yesterday. It will air on Peacock. We know Suzanne is spearheading the project. Now, her source tells them that Wendy made it clear, okay? Wendy Williams did not okay this doc and clarified that Wendy does not talk to Suzanne at all. She was told that Wendy was never involved in the doc, and the source alleges that Suzanne moved very sketchy. When asked if Wendy would benefit financially from the doc at all, the source could not provide a clear yes and called the doc disgusting. Hashtag brown girl grinding. So I guess it's kind of unclear as to whether or not she will benefit from this monetarily. Here's the thing though, like, this is one of those situations where, I'm just gonna be real with you. Like, if it would be different if Wendy had gone on to glory, right? Which, God willing, we have her here for a very long time. Okay. And I also must, Lord have mercy, Dolly Parton. That just threw me for a loop, y'all. It threw me for a loop. And here's why. And I'm gonna get back to Wendy. With Dolly Parton, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I'm gonna be real raw and real honest with you. As a Black person, I often find that, it is already tough being a Black person in this country in general, which is why I always like to take people outside of the country so that they can actually see different ways of life. And what you find oftentimes is, especially in a place like we went to in Vietnam, that you almost feel this sigh of relief because you don't feel like anyone is out to get you. Now, granted, we may all love our country, but I don't think we always like how we're treated, as is the case with what we're seeing in Gary, Indiana, Memphis, Tennessee, where people have been without power, food, or water, and $100 vouchers that aren't doing very much at all. So we have crisis situations happening right now as we speak in our communities. And it seems like some of the country is just turning a blind eye to that. So when you think about a person like Dolly Parton, who really stood for the equality of all people, equal treatment, equal rights, and just human decency, it hits you a little bit differently, especially in the times that we're living. So I say all that to say, um, in the example that someone does a documentary on Dolly Parton, then we can almost understand it a little bit better because there would be so much of her story that maybe was left untold. But there's so much of Wendy's story that we already got from the documentary that Wendy was actually a part of. So to do another one feels a little reductive. It feels repetitive. It also feels to a certain degree like a money grab. And I can understand why people are really, really upset by this because it's kind of like, why are we doing this all over again? We already had what she gave us, what she approved, or what she at least was a part of. And I just think that given her situation currently, I do understand the desire to celebrate Wendy. And I would hope that they do the documentary well and in good taste. But I think that just from the general public viewpoint of it, and especially from my own, I just kind of wonder like, why would you do this? Why would you do this? And why would you do this now? Right? I mean, I think the efforts here would probably be more towards getting Wendy Williams out of her conservatorship and into a space where she feels free and she has access to the things that she needs, her family, her friends, and her loved ones, because there's so much going on in life. And I think that that's super important. But anyway, you guys let me know. Will you be watching this new Wendy Williams documentary? I'm interested to see how this pans out. I'm always very interested in Wendy Williams myself. And I feel like I will take this back to what I initially said earlier. The thing that I feel like a lot of us would prefer is that we see those old clips of the Wendy Williams show reintroduced to YouTube or some platform where we can all just enjoy the time that we had, especially with the times that we're currently in now. Because I think many of us wonder what Wendy Williams' commentary would be about some of the things that are happening right now. Um, so that's really all we got for today. I wanted to touch on that because I just thought it was such an interesting story, and the way that this is rolling out and what we're finding out about it, I just find it fascinating. And I want to know who is going to watch it. Um, Given that this is my job, might kind of take a peek at it just to see how they do it and what the ramifications are as a result of the news coming out right now, whether it reshapes how they do this or not, and whether they try to include her or not at some point moving forward. So we'll see. We'll watch and see how this plays out. So with that being said, also too, y'all, the 21-day challenge is starting September 1st, okay, through September 21st. This is where you get access to me for 21 days, okay? What that means is you will have access to our 21-day content sprint community. So if you've been struggling to make content, right, whether that's YouTube or otherwise, you're going to be able to have a space and a community where everyone is working towards the same goal. You're going to get access to all of the courses, the Faceless Content course, the Creator Starter Kit, and the other items that I have in the community. And additionally, you will going to get day-to-day updates on what you should be posting, what you should be doing, suggestions for how to make this content situation so much easier for yourself. And at the end of 21 days, you're going to leave with 21 pieces of content that you will have posted, and you will then be able to really move your channel or your platform forward in the way that makes you feel really, really good about creating content, because you will have built up this habit and you will have done it with somebody who is doing it already. Okay. So if you have questions about that, drop them in the comments, or just hop into the 21-day content sprint in the link down below. It will be also in the link in the description, as well in the first comment of this video. With that being said, I will catch you in the next one.